I don't know, man. Like, I know he had a good tournament, but I just can't play with that guy, dude. I'm not playing. It's me or Tyson, man. I can't play with a fucking Canadian.
Dude, I'm telling you, give it a chance. We got Decipher Lotus Tyson coming
Guys,
up. It's
guys,
gonna
guys,
be
guys, guys,
good.
guys, guys, guys,
Oh.
we're live.
Oh, what's up? Oh,
Guys,
hey, Doug.
Hey,
we're
everyone.
live.
Hey,
Yikes.
man.
Okay, yeehaw, partner. Episode 23 of Vandals is live. I'm sick, so I'm gonna sound wonderful the entire time. I want to say Zekken and Cap are both sick, or they're just sick in solidarity with me. I don't know. Fellas, how you doing?
Pretty good. I tried drinking hydrogen peroxide to sound like you and give you solidarity, but just didn't work, you know? Still kept my voice.
Hydrogen peroxide.
I don't know how you.
I didn't go that route. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Gentlemen, how's life been? Okay, so from what I understand, Cap, you have moved to LA, and Zekken, you haven't because you are still like 15 or something like that, and you can't
yeah.
or something. Well, what's the situation here, fellas?
Yeah, so I'm out in LA. I've been here for like 2 weeks, basically since the start of January with Brazilians and Deaf, and then Drew and Psycho were here a little earlier. They were here before Christmas, and we've played like 1 week in person.
How many times have
And
you had
Zach.
in and out since you've moved?
0.
That's impressive.
That's criminal.
Blame Sentinels, you know. Tell them to bring it for lunch. We actually tried burgers. We get food brought to us for lunch every day, and we got burgers like one of the first days, and then we immediately told our manager Kez we were like, we cannot
Never
do
again.
burgers. I think it was Shake Shack, and everyone was just comatose for the second block of scripts. It was demoralizing.
Zach, what's up with you, man?
I'm still in school right now, so I'm just gonna finish up senior year and graduate, and then I'll be able to move in with everyone else. So sometime like late May, hopefully,
Are
if I
you
don't
not?
fail every class.
Are you not in school right now? It's like noon on a Wednesday or Tuesday,
It
whatever day of the
is.
week it is.
It's finals week, so I just I go in, I take a test or two, and I come back relatively early.
I gotcha. Cap, talk to me about how things have been with Sentinels. Just moved over. It's still very young. You've only had one tournament together, but how's it been for you?
Good, man. That first week was busy. Whenever we start up scrims like after a break or as a new team, in my experience, the mental stamina is way worse because people just aren't used to scrimming yet. So
Oh, sure.
first week was bumpy, you know, people get tired, we're figuring everything out, but off to a really good start this week as of yesterday. And I think everyone's getting more comfy with each other, figuring out roles and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and you finally got the franchise spot that you were promised after throwing with Ghost and LCQ, so Sentinels would have a chance. So it sounds like that's going well. Zekken, what about you? How have things been with you?
Things have been good. I'm really enjoying practice right now. Just came back from the tournament and had a good time. Just looking forward to practicing and getting better with the team right now.
Zekken, so we have something where Patreon supporters can submit questions, right? Once they figure out who the guests are. And we did get a question from a Patreon supporter. The question is, how is his strategic coach? So Zekken, this question is for you. How is his strategic coach so handsome and smart? And why is he Zekken's favorite member of the team?
Is the Patreon member who submitted this question? Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, never mind. It went away. Is the Patreon member who submitted this question happen to be the strategic coach in question?
I can neither confirm nor deny those allegations.
Okay. I think that it's probably genetics, and that he was born that way, and that yeah, I think just
Damn straight, baby. I'm a loyal supporter of the Doug Patreon.
Appreciate it. Dope shout out, by the way. There is a Patreon set up for this show. Please go support it so I can feed Daisy her puppy food. Today's her birthday, by the way.
All
right. Let's talk real stuff. You guys just got back from Ludwig Tarek event, what? 2 days ago? Yesterday? Something like that? Couple days ago. How was it? What general impressions? This is where you talk trash about Tarek, by the way.
Tarek's a lot shorter in person. It's like weird. I don't know. Tournament was awesome. It was really well run. It was nice to meet everybody and see the different teams. Definitely a lot more relaxed of a tournament than like a VCT, where like at a VCT you like the only time you interact with the other players is when you see them at the hotel and you like depth stare each other because you're supposed to be. I don't know how that interaction goes.
Right.
But at the invitational, just everyone's just relaxing. Like in between games, teams are talking to each other, playing Smash. Like getting to like talk to other players about like anything, even like we would talk about the game sometimes, or we just talk about random stuff. It was definitely a lot more fun than like a regular tournament. It was a good time.
Yep.
Very chill vibes. Agreed. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I haven't been to like an international VCT event, but this was a lot of fun. Losing wasn't fun, but the tournament was a good time. It was chill.
Sure.
How badly did Zekken rinse you on Smash?
I didn't even play. I know I would be rinsed for sure. Maybe not at Ultimate. I think I could hold my own, but Melee, I have no business playing Zach there.
You mentioned Cap. Losing's not fun. So you guys only placed third out of 4 teams. That means Sentinels is dead, right? Like it's over.
Man, third place is third place. Third place at Ludwig, third place in Brazil. It's third place.
We are on the podium.
Yeah.
Really though, what was the objective heading into the event? Obviously, it's your first lane together. You guys had played together for what, a week before the event. Expectations couldn't have been high.
It was just build team chem, get the vibes going, get to know each other, like figure out what our match comms sound like. I know everyone's probably not like, everyone on the team has been on an international stage, and 4 of the players have very recently been on the champ stage. So I think people aren't going to be like crazy fired up for a Ludwig tournament 6 days into practice. Like,
Yep.
But still, we get to, the energy rises for matches inevitably, and I think we get to know what we sound like as a team during matches, and it like sets a nice bar going back to scrims to be like, okay, we are capable of bringing that many ideas of sounding like that. Let's kind of get that going more often.
Zach, did you have a like a goal or an objective individually heading into the event?
I think individually, my entire goal is just to get more comfortable with everyone and to get more comfortable like as a communicator. In exit, I would like to think of myself as a big like idea contributor, especially in matches, because like I guess when I have that adrenaline, my brain's always coming up with stuff to do on the fly.
Sure.
And I wanted to kind of bring that to this team, so my main goal was to try and bring as many ideas as possible during those matches, and obviously just to perform well individually.
How have the comms been with Sassy and Pancada? Has it been difficult? How has all of that been from like a English speaking perspective?
Sassy's, it's he's got perfect English, so
Yeah,
no comment there at all. Pancada, I'd say his in-game comms are good, and when we can take the time to break down more complicated stuff, like in server time, he can check in if he understands. He pretty much always does, but once in a blue moon we need clarification. I'd say the one thing we're working on is he's like a beast. Like he could contribute almost nothing and still have been worth it. He just frags really hard, but he's a really smart player. So some of his more complicated ideas that he might have mid-round or freeze time, I think getting those out in English on a dime is like the one mild pain point that we're still working on, but it's still getting better and better every day. I think a lot of it's like, it's not where his English is at, it's is he able to think in Portuguese and then speak it in English while playing the game. Like, and that's not knowledge of English, that's a skill of working with multiple languages in your head while playing a video game. And I think that's something he hadn't practiced yet. He might have been studying English for years, but he'd never done that. So it's like right now it's in exponential gains mode in that regard.
Well, and there are certain things that, I mean, you can have a full understanding of the language, but that doesn't mean that you understand how to say Valorant terms in a different language, right? Like, I'm fluent in Spanish. There are a couple of things I wouldn't off the top be able to know how to tell you when it comes to Valorant terms. So I can totally see how it's a thing. Zekken, would you agree with that? Would you say for the most part it's been a couple of things like that, but that's something that's rectified over time?
Yeah, he's pretty much completely right. I remember talking about your point about how there's sometimes not even terms in the different language. Because we had server time yesterday, and Brian had an idea, and he told us to Sassi in Portuguese because he wanted it translated. And then Sassi goes, "I don't even think there's a word for this in English." And it's definitely like things like that. But like he was saying, the comms are just with Pankot especially are just getting better every day, and he's contributing more and more ideas every time.
Would you guys feel like going back to the tournament? Obviously, the vibes were chill. The intent was to just get comfortable together and, get a rep together under your belts. With all of that said, and knowing that you guys only finished third, but in the grand scheme of things, it's what it is. It's fine. Would you guys say that you accomplished what you wanted to do heading into that tournament?
Yeah, I think so. We had no expectation competitively, and I think giving ourselves a competitive expectation with it off 6 days of practice with a bunch of different team cores coming together and language, it would just have. But yeah, it would have been very foolish. So.
I would say so too. I think obviously like, we wanted to win, but it wasn't like expected, and just getting everyone like our comms were so good. I felt during that tournament that I thought we were really improving compared to like the first few days of practice. Like I remember on Pearl, there was a round where Tenz was just telling me everything to do. Like we were in a 2v something, and he was telling me literally every exact move I should make, and I was like, holy shit, yes sir, yes sir. And then we won. And I was like, dude, if I could get that like every single time, I would not complain at all. Like it worked perfectly. And just like moments like that, like there were different moments like that spread out throughout the tournament with everyone, including myself. And I think that being able to communicate like that and having everyone on the same page, like it was a really big step, I think, even though we lost.
Would you say that Tyson is vocal in a team environment? In a team environment, mid round, would you say he's very vocal about what it is he wants, or was that more of an anomaly?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah, it's all you.
I would say so. I think it depends on the agent, because like on Jet, there's not too much to come because you don't have you're not using your util for your teammates. It's more of a like using your things for yourself agent.
Right.
So when he's on like Jet, it'll be more him asking for stuff instead of him saying, "Let's do this. I'm gonna do this for you." But I think when we saw it the most, especially in the tournament, is when he was on KO.
Yeah.
It just like you could tell he played CS because he's always like, "I'm gonna flash for you. I'm gonna set up this. I'm gonna do this," and he's definitely like super vocal on that agent, and he's always bringing ideas because he always wants to do something with his utility. He doesn't want to just like right click a flash around a corner for himself. He always wants to be supportive or do something like himself and a teammate. So it's really nice, and he's really vocal about it.
Do you have any follow up on that, Cap?
Yeah, now really impressed right out the gates with his KO, especially when he played it in scrims too, like the comms flow.
He looked insane.
He hits these. He's got really good knives. Like it's not just the flashes. Like he'll like suppress 3 or 4 mid round. Like we give him lineups and it's like he's got what is the Elon Musk, the Neuralink. He's got that. We just like install the lineups in his brain, and I've been nothing but pleased.
Turns out Tyson is good at Valorant, huh?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Crazy concept.
Let's talk about Lotus. Thoughts on the map in general. Well, what do you guys make of the map? It hasn't been out for very long. It just hits competitive queues today. Actually, what do you guys think about it?
Haven't messed around with it too much, but
That's a lie. I don't believe you.
I'm definitely open-minded about it. I like that it's a tighter map. Like I like that it's a smaller map, but there's open areas within it. I think the C site is like pretty beefy. It's pretty monstrous. It's kind of nice to have sites like that. Like Breeze B kind of felt like that. Like a lot of Valorant sites are like a box, maybe 2 boxes and some space. And so it's nice to have something a little more strongholdy. I don't think it's going to feel as much like a 3-site map as Haven, just because I don't think B is as good as Haven B, but kind of some general teaser thoughts, I guess, from me.
I think that it's going to be pretty similar in Haven, not in terms of like how you play the map, but in terms of like comps. I could see like how double initiator has been really prevalent on Haven for a long time. That's something similar like that's going to happen on Lotus, just because you want to get the info at all times, considering there's 3 bomb sites and they could be rotating in between the 3 at any point. So I think like how in Haven for a long time you'd see like a sky breach or like breach fade or things like that, where you have two initiators trying to get info all the time. Something like that is going to be similar on Lotus.
Would you guys say the map is... Well, before I ask you that, let me ask you this. Would you say the map is complex? Kaplan, you referred to it as beefy, mainly C site. But would you say in general the map is complex?
I think so. Yeah, I think there's like the rotates. There's a few different ways you can rotate, and there's like a lot of different points in which like the defender spawn rotate gets like, you know, there's like a corridor connecting to it. Like there's a lot of connecting pieces into the defender rotate. Whereas like what split, it's pretty straightforward. You like it's the defender rotate unless you have like one of the heavens, and then you see into it basically. I think it's more like a little spider web in the middle. I think it might get really complicated to watch for a lurk if you like lose the middle part of the map, stuff like that.
Zach, would you say the map feels complex or complicated, or is it pretty simple, pretty straightforward?
Oh no, I don't think I'm smart enough to answer that question. I think it's
yes, you are.
I think it's more complex than Icebox. That's how I'll put it.
Yeah.
It's I think there's more room. There's more room for strategy, and there's more room to experiment with like different comps and different styles of play on it.
So it's literally every other map except Icebox. Is what you're saying.
I'm mad at Icebox right now. I'm sorry. I let that slip through.
What would you guys say? So I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this map, and in a lot of ways, it feels more complex than any other map we have. You think about Seaside, for example, and there's a bit more verticality to it, just in that site in particular. I think there are a bunch of different angles that you have to consider, and again, when you fold that in with the vertical nature of some of the areas of the map, it feels harder than the other maps. But I don't know that I necessarily think that's a bad thing. In fact, that's something I almost welcome, given kind of what we had in the past when it comes to all the other maps that we've had to mess with in Valorant. Do you guys agree with that, or what are your thoughts there?
Resoundingly agree. Very passionately agree. I think that a lot of Valorant maps take an approach of being complicated in the sense of they're very novel and different, like Fracture. It's like that's an incredibly non-traditional TAC FPS map, and it's really exciting at first, and I think Fracture has its strengths, but I think when you approach maps like that too much, you end up with too many maps where once they're solved, it's fun to crack the code, like, oh, what's the puzzle? How do we solve this? But once it's solved, that's it, and it plays really similarly, and I think that shows in maps that are more unconventional, like Fracture or Icebox. I might be statistically wrong about this, but in my opinion, have had less like meta shift and comp diversity than more traditional maps like SEN or Split or even Haven, which isn't super traditional. So I think when the map is complicated in the form of there are a lot of different options in a round, I think it lends itself to being more it stays fresh for longer.
Sure.
And it changes more when agent changes happen, is my guess.
Do you have any other thoughts, Zekken?
I think he covered all of it.
So I get really into map stuff.
No, good. I mean, this is good stuff. I've thought about this stupid map so much. I really do love it. I think it's probably the best map we've had so far. Would you guys say Harbor gets any play here? Because I have this, I've been deep inside the crevices of my mind palace, okay? And I firmly believe that Harbor gets play on this map. If you run a double controller comp like Astra, Harbor with Fade, and then like a KJ and a Raze, you've got fire. I think Harbor's got room here, guys. Call me an idiot, tell me what you think, but I don't know. I think there's something here.
I can agree. I like Harbor. Like the thing with Harbor for me at least is that it's hard to get really good, but it's definitely like you can work with it. Just his, and I already forgot the names of his abilities. That's crazy.
I don't know. Cascade, the wall
that you push forward. The wall that you push forward is really good. I think for early control on both sides, and I think that if you have a lot of set plays around that, and you can be really really annoying with it. So I could see it working. And then on offense, you just get a lot of flexibility. So I do think that it could work. But I also hate him at the same time because like every time he uses an ability, you know exactly where he is. So it's like it's a mixed bag. But I do think he could work.
I even think about his ult, like the
I love
chaos
his ult.
that his ult could cause on C for whatever, for example. I think there's a lot of room there, Cap. What do you think?
I rarely invite Harbor into my mind palace. Usually only after a couple drinks, shared a spliff with somebody, something like that. But I do think there's some nice cascades on the map, and that ability has been the most surprising to me. Like I underrated it. So I don't know. Maybe
You think I'm huffing the copium, don't you?
I don't know.
I'll
I
huff
don't
it
know.
with
I
you,
think
brother.
I
I'll
think
huff
it
it
could.
with you.
I think it could happen. It's just it's tough. It's tough to take the risk, and then the question is, can he serve you for a whole
Kaplan, his
tournament?
orb, it takes bullets for you.
Think about it, bro.
Takes a few.
You literally cannot get shot when there's an orb.
For approximately 0.1 seconds.
And listen, this is gonna be fine until you guys play Lotus first round against Fnatic and you run the exact comp that I talked about, and then I'm just gonna be losing my mind. Kaplan's a hater, but Zach will.
And if we get bodied, it's on you. But I will huff the copium.
I think he like maybe you don't play him for like 7 times in a tournament, but you could like steal a game. Like it's kind of like Yoru. Like you won't. I don't know. I think people will do that a lot. It's kind of moving the topic in Brazil. Like, but nobody wants to go home after one BO3, so people are probably gonna have like cheese shit they expect to only work once.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that because that's actually one of the things I want to talk about here in a little bit. What about Killjoy versus Cypher? Killjoy seems outrageously strong right now. It almost feels impossible to counter her, but do you think Cypher gets any play on Lotus, or is it primarily Killjoy's map?
What do you think, Zach?
I think initially, like it'll be pretty 50-50. I don't know, like how strong are the Killjoy ults? Because that's the one thing I haven't really seen. Are they?
Honestly, I haven't really looked yet.
Pretty freaking big, man.
Pretty big.
They cover so much space on that map.
Then yeah, she'll be good. The thing with Cypher, like this is more of just a general thing and not on Lotus, is that like even with the buff trips over time, there's going to be a lot of default ones that everyone just comes to expect. So as the meta progresses on that map, Cypher's just going to see less and less play because everyone kind of knows what to expect after a few weeks of just getting fucked on in ranked by it. So I think like as time progresses, like it'll be 50-50 right at the start maybe, but as time progresses, it'll just shift more and more into Killjoy.
Kaplan?
Yeah, I think Cypher's in a tough spot. Prowlers, skillless trips, boom bots, satchels, drones. Like it feels like every jet has a good updraft dash for every site now. So I think he'll probably be better. Yeah, he's gonna be better early on, right? Like you don't know the cams yet, you don't know the trips yet, like Zach's saying.
You touched on this earlier, Cap, and I want to come back to this. Is B site just useless on Lotus? Is it entirely pointless?
Not looking great to me. It's just so the hard thing about Haven B is you're planting in the middle of the map. You're inevitably close to every defender, right? A and C defenders are far from each other. Well, nobody's far from B. And you just have a lot of different chokes to hold, but you can still back off and play offsite. And to me, Lotus B just looks like that without the offsite part, which is just like it's already hard to win a B post plant on Haven, and on-site post plants have pretty low success rate. So pretty worried about Lotus. Yeah,
it just kind of feels like if you commit to B on Lotus, you're all in. Like it's just everyone's going to be huddled in there, and you're all duking it out, and then last man standing. You're right. It feels a lot like Haven, except you can't play offsite. You don't have lineup. Well, I mean, you may have lineups because of the opening above B, but by and large, it feels like it's just like a mosh pit, and you're going to have to figure it out one way or another.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
No. I'm good.
Let's talk about Split. Couple of changes, minor ones, some might say, but others may say it kind of solves the problems that people felt with the map. What have you guys thought on Split so far? I know this is also recently off of your 16-14 loss on Split, so sorry, but like we need to rehash those wounds. You missed it
so much.
Yeah,
I love that map. I think the changes are good. I like them. I don't think they're anything too crazy, but I do like that they're making it a bit easier for the attackers. I will say that we lost a round because I forgot that they took out the little rafter bit on A Heaven, and I just fell right into the waiting arms of Jonah P. And so I probably should have read the patch notes a bit more in detail before playing. But yeah, I like the changes a lot. I think it evens out the map a bit, and I'm just really happy that it's back. I missed it.
Oh, hang on. It was an overtime map. You're telling me that you potentially lost that map. It potentially goes to overtime because you forgot about that rafter?
Listen, man. Listen. I did my best. I worked hard out there. You know, I give my all in every game I play. You know, it's stuff. It happens, man. It happens.
Cap, what do you think about Slit, man?
I love it, and there's so many different comps you could run and things you can do, and I think it's been a pretty well balanced map since the changes they made early on, and didn't have many problems, and I don't think much changed. I still think it doesn't have many problems.
You didn't think it had you didn't think it had any problem? I love the map.
I think it played well. I think it was pretty balanced. I liked it a lot. I think you have to play it a little slow compared to other maps, so it might not feel good in ranked, but I think it was great, and I welcome it back with open arms.
All right, let's talk about Brazil. I want to start off with this. Yesterday, I performed very scientifically accurate experiments, okay? I was very diligent. I crossed my T's. I dotted my I's. I put every single match in ValorantSimulator.com to figure out who I thought was going to win Brazil, because that is probably the only way to accurately predict who's going to win the tournament given the format. We'll talk about the format in a minute, but there is something I need to talk to you both about. According to ValorantSimulator.com, you guys lose in the first round of Fnatic. Explain yourselves.
We just didn't work hard enough, man. I can tell in advance that we're not going to practice over the next month and a half, and that we will fall flat on our face. However, we will get paid, and that's what matters. SEN win, baby. SEN all the way. Let's fucking go.
That's right. All good. Go next. SEN City.
SEN City.
Do you have thoughts? Do you have words to say for yourself, Kaplan?
Hey, man, the Harbor comps just didn't land, and
it's my fault.
High five to Mini. And
oh man! All right, format. Let's talk about the format. The big elephant in the room. For those of you who may have missed the format for Brazil, it just dropped. I don't know when this will come out, so let's just say yesterday for now. It is a single elimination, best of 3 up until semifinals tournament for all 32 teams. It is cutthroat in probably its most truest sense. That's as far as I'll share my thoughts on it for now. I want to give you guys an opportunity to share your thoughts on this first. Kaplan, I want to start with you.
I still don't know the answer to this question because it's hard to believe. I'm pretty sure the winner of this doesn't get a spot in Tokyo. They just get their region another spot.
That is correct.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Because I thought that a month ago, and then all of us, me included, were like, there's no way, right? There's no way that's all you get. But
I think that's all you get, yeah. Maybe some points. I don't know about points, but from what I understand, you do get your region a spot in Tokyo, but that's it. You don't get the guaranteed spot.
Yeah, I saw the what is Leo
Leo.
Feria's role? I don't know what his title is, but
head of global esports for Valorant.
I thought, considering everything, all his answers were good and made sense, and I didn't feel like I was in a place to argue them. Except I will say, maybe if this is the best solution for this tournament, and it's already happening, but maybe this tournament in this amount of time was just not a great idea in the first place. If this is what we get out of it. But then again, like I understand Riot's fans first, and like as a I just want to get started with like competing, hard, and I think with the way this looks, I obviously would have preferred like just starting with doing 2 league splits, and like it's just gonna be more good high level competition to me. But I definitely understand how it's super exciting for fans, and I'm not complaining. A trip to Brazil, and I hope we do well, and I don't know. I'm biased.
Sure. Zekken, you shared some thoughts on Twitter about potentially missing out 3 weeks of school for 1BO3, and then somebody on Twitter, some really wise person, I thought that the tweet was quite succinct. It was very thorough and very well thought out, and they just said, "Don't lose." Well, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a very true point that they brought up, and it wasn't something that I considered before making the tweet. It was something I made in the heat of the moment with a lot of emotion. Yeah, I think the format's dumb, just straight up, because like the tournament's been planned for so long and has been in the works for so long that immediately just have however many BO1s at once, or not BO1, sorry, BO3s at once, and just sending teams home right off the bat, I disagree with.
Sure.
I was pretty upset, like right when it was announced, but like the consolation that I realized is that, we're gonna be there for 3 weeks to a month. Even if we lose right away, um, having all 32 teams in the same place and being able to practice with all 32 or like be scrim partners with everyone at the hotel at once, it's gonna be the best like 2-3 weeks of practice that like we could ask for.
Yeah.
So I think that even if we lose to Fnatic round one, we're gonna improve so much as a team so quickly, and I think so will everyone else. So I do think overall that this tournament's really good for the franchise teams in general. Just everyone's gonna get a lot better. It's gonna allow for a lot more high level competition. But I think that single elim is just dumb.
One thing on the format, which I forgot, and I think it's the most obvious blunder, is the fact that the Group Alpha winner just sits around and watches all of Group Omega play out,
right,
waiting for that. I think that is horrible, like horrendous. Yeah. Like to a point where I think I'm being dramatic, and somebody on Twitter is going to be like, "Well, you're just saying this because you're in Team Omega," but I'm not worried about like whether we're on the receiving end of it. I think like the competitive integrity of grand finals is like compromised by the fact that one team is just watching the entire group play out, scrimming, planning for it, and then I don't know how long, so I probably should have known before running my mouth, of a break there is after Omega group finishes before they play each other, but there's no way it's long enough that it evens this problem out.
It is 2 days because
that's crazy.
On stream yesterday.
That's crazy.
Excuse me.
So that's a problem, but yeah.
As now, allow me to devil's advocate here a little bit, right? And then I'll share thoughts on my personal thoughts on the tournament, the format, whatnot. Is there something to be said about the fact that Alpha, yes, they get to sit and watch Omega for the entire bracket, right? Like, and they get to download everything and prep and scrim the entire time. You essentially get 2 weeks of preparation for 2 matches, assuming you win the first. Is there something to be said about the fact that at the beginning of that of the Omega bracket, the Alpha teams don't really know what they're looking at or looking for? I mean, you're trying to download the equivalent of 16 teams, and mind you, over time it narrows down, but how pointed can you really be on prep and counter-stratting and stuff like that at the beginning? Would you say that the real beneficial time isn't really until the end, and then even then, you really don't have a ton to begin with, right?
I mean, I think so. Like, let's say you're what is Cloud9 in Group A or something, like as an example. So Alpha, you're Cloud9, you made it all the way through, and then you're watching Sentinels or something. And then I'll use a different team as an example. You're watching Fnatic. I think at first it doesn't feel like a lot, but by the time they've played all these BO3s to get to their grand final spot, as Cloud9, you can, okay, I know I'm playing Fnatic and Grands. I have 2 days where I can there's probably not like a gold mine of stuff, but like I can watch all of their VODs, see how they're playing all their maps. And the tough part is, even if there's not a lot there, they only have 2 days, which probably are kind of needed rest days, to come up with new stuff or just play stuff that's downloaded. Whereas, I don't know how long is each group, how much time had like C9 had.
A week and change.
Yeah, so I think the value is less in, like in this example, whatever, the winner, I don't know why I'm using team names, the winner of Group Alpha, the advantage is less in the fact that they can download the winner of Group Omega's stuff, and more so that they had a weekend change to play a new comp. So they can be like, okay, well, like, we have these holes, this comp kind of went bust, like, we'll cook up this one, we'll surprise people on this map, and it's really hard to be the underdog in that. It actually, like, it happens in main event too. Like, we're coming off a boot camp on Ghost when we made main event last year, and it was this 3-week grueling boot camp, and we like failed the first qualifier and then barely made it through the second qualifier in losers, and then we flew home tired and we didn't have any new comps prepped, and we got pounded by Xset, who didn't have to go through the qualifiers. They had like a month plus to just work on whatever.
Horrible,
We hadn't.
garbage
It was brutal.
Team. It was an honor to own you.
It's just totally unfair match. Anyway, sorry, I get passionate.
So here are my thoughts on the tournament. I want to see what you guys think about it. I think this format might be one of the best things that can happen to Valorant for everyone except for the players. Okay, for the players, it sucks. For the teams, it's like this sucks for you guys, and I'm not gonna pretend that that's not true. Yeah, you have the reality of the fact that you're gonna fly out for 3 weeks. You have to quarantine, depending on what that looks like. I don't know. To potentially play 1 BO3, in which you can get Lotus first against Paper Rex, and they're gonna run Neon, Yoru, Breach, Harbor, and something, right? And you're just gonna get ruined. There's no way to prepare for that, right? Like, and you'll get 13-0'd, your mental's in the bin, and then it's over. For the players, it sucks. For everyone else, though, I see this as a massive win. Think about for new viewers, right? Like new fans of the game who are getting into Valorant for the very first time. It's a super simple format, with the exception of the graphic. Sorry, the graphic is mad confusing. I don't get why we were trying to do that. But it's a super simple format, single elimination tournament, right? Whatever. It introduces chaos, and it feels so much like the March Madness tournament in college basketball because it has a very high likelihood of some sort of a Cinderella story, right? Like somebody's going to beat somebody that 9 times out of 10 they shouldn't have beat, and it's going to be really easy to become a fan of them. It's going to bring a lot of attention because of the storylines and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know, man. I think when you think about this from a fan's perspective, from an unbiased perspective too, like me, I just love Valorant. So I get to sit back and I'm genuinely invested in every single match because I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea, right? So there's reason for me to want to watch every match. I'll get invested in Cinderella stories, right? Like Sentinels against Fnatic. I'll root for you guys. It's all perfect.
I think Zeta Division are going to win this tournament off of pure whimsy. And
Sugar Zero with a shorty.
Sugar Zero will drop 50 kills a game. Yeah, no, I agree with that aspect. I like the March Madness comparison. I can see that for sure.
But it does. Again, it screws you guys, man. Like, this sucks for you guys. There is, in Zekken, I think you made a really good point that I hadn't thought about previously. The scrim experience that you guys are going to get being out there the whole time, even if you get first rounded, you can't replace that, right? Like, you don't, there's no boot camp that will give you that level of value.
We also get a, we've got 2 players from Sao Paulo, so we're going to go to all the best food places.
True.
We're going to get the personal tour. It's going to be fun. I agree. When I try to think about it as a fan personally, I get hung up on the grand final thing, and it's a smaller gripe, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to have that in the back of my head watching the grands and stuff. But I think most people won't. And I think I totally agree with the caveat that it does suck that it's only 2 days break, or that they couldn't figure out the whole grand final advantage that is random better. And I don't know what'll happen, but I really hope that grands isn't a blowout, because if it is a blowout, people are going to point at that, and it's going to feel like, oh, we had this sick tournament, and then this glaring fault kind of messed up the encapsulating moment. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's that. As a coach, I'm like hung up on that advantage that Group A has, but I just don't think it might not be a huge deal, man. There's just a hype crowd, and you play your best Valorant, and I think it'll be probably a lot of good games.
That's the other thing too that I was just thinking about is from what I understand, it's not like the rule book is out, so I don't know how they'll do map advantage, ban advantage. Like there may be some sort of a consolation there that helps out Omega. I don't know. And then the other thing I was thinking about is, I would argue, so there's I think there are a lot of opinions on Twitter and on Reddit. One of the prevailing thoughts is, this is so dumb. They're doing all this. At best, you're only getting a spot for your region. You don't even get your guaranteed spot. Given the randomness of it all, the fact that Omega has an advantage over Alpha, I would almost argue that you want it this way, or you want the stakes to be a little bit lesser, no?
I agree, and I'm curious if you feel the same way, Zach, but I think like once you're there, international kickoff tournament, 32 teams, like I think everyone's gonna want to win it. Like, I'm pumped. I want to win it. Like, it's not gonna be like, there's nothing to play for. Who cares? Like, we have, it's not a Ludwig Tark 6 days of practice thing. Like, I think it's gonna be, everyone's gonna be passionate about it. Try their hardest.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you guys say that the format, in some ways, will introduce an even smaller likelihood that we get Lotus? Or do you think we'll see it more because of its random nature? Teams may not be prepared, and like for an underdog team, you get a one and done shot, right? Like roll the die and see what happens.
I think what you said about teams like when you mentioned Paper X, that they would be a type to definitely just run it.
Yeah,
I feel like
1000%.
teams that are super confident and are very adaptable, I think will try and pick it up really fast and just have it as like a secret weapon to kind of pull out. I think on X side we did the same thing with Pearl, where
Pearl,
at
yeah.
Champs we were just whipping that out because no one knew what we would be doing because it was so new, and it worked really well for us.
Were you guys the first team to play it at Champs? Do you remember? I know you played it a lot, but were you guys the first?
I don't know if we were the first because we didn't play it our first match. We played it we whipped it out in our second
Wait,
match.
bro, I casted this match. I should know this.
Didn't think maybe like Paper X played it.
I don't remember.
Like,
Oh
out
yeah,
the
Paper X
gates.
did play versus Edward Gaming before
Yeah.
us. This is true.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
That was a fun match. But yeah, we were one of the first to pull it out. So I think teams might see that and try and replicate it with Lotus. They'll come up with something new and unexpected, and they'll just run it. And then other teams who like to be more not structured, but they kind of want to stay with the old battle will just insta ban it. So it'll be an interesting clash.
Oh, it's interesting. You think about Fracture when it first came out in Champs last year. Excuse me. It was Cloud9 and Fnatic. You'd look at either of those right now, and I don't think you'd look at that and go, well, that's very whimsical, right? Like that was Zeta or that was, whoever. It was Edward Gaming. Like those two teams, without fully delving into the strategic approaches that they take to the game, I don't know that you would expect either of them to be the ones who go, let's roll the die and see what happens,
Yeah, I think the further tournament progresses, basically the more even a matchup is, the more likely it is to get played. Anytime there's a major overdog, I think they'll ban it. But I don't think you're going to get teams going, like, I don't know, like, it's definitely not a tournament you want to play for fun, like, you want to win it. But if teams are just going in, going like, we're going to hard ban Lotus, and then it's like almost exactly a month until the league split after, like, you're putting yourself behind on a new map for the league split. So I think people will play it for that reason as well.
Get live.
I don't think anyone will hide strats for this tournament because there is not a ton to play for. Like, you would have to have the most like golden perfect strat to be like, I'm not going to use this because in league split it'll be incredibly valuable. I mean, you'll just make new stuff and the game will evolve anyway. So
sure. I
think people will be unafraid to whip out whatever they have cooked up.
Last question I have for you boys. Your first draw, as we discussed, is against Fnatic. Thoughts? I imagine you guys just got back from LA, so surely you've been grinding Fnatic VODs for the last 6 weeks, right? Preparing for this match. What have you guys thought of the random draw?
The past 2 years. Having played them previously and having scrimmed them a bit at Champions as well, they're always super fun to play against. At least the roster or like the iteration they had during Champs. I'm not going to be the guy to be like, oh, we're going to shit on them, we're going to destroy them. But I think it'll be a fun match, and they definitely play the game the right way, which is how I really enjoy playing Valorant. Is they'll punish you for mistakes, and they have some creative stuff up their sleeves. So I think it'll be a really fun matchup to watch, whether you're rooting for us or Fnatic, and I'm just excited for it.
Cap?
Yeah, I like that we've got a real, proper tough opponent to start, and it motivates us to work really hard in the next whatever it is, 5 weeks, 4 weeks here. And then, I think that's really important. We're going to scrim hard in the next 4 or 5 weeks because we got to win that game, and it's not a free game, and that's valuable no matter what. And Mini's a good buddy, so I'm excited to play against him, try to take him down.
Are there plans for you guys to boot camp or anything prior to this tournament?
Probably not. I think most people are thinking the same thing, that the scrim competition is better in Europe or North America than South America right now. So
Sure. Fellas, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you guys. Any parting words? Zekken, I want to start with you first before we wrap up the show.
Parting words? No, I got nothing. I think. Thank you for having us on. I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
Amen.
We will play Harbor on Lotus, and yeah.
Nice. Comps
and
being
the
leaked.
Tyson cipher, obviously.
Cap.
Hashtag SEN City, baby. I love you, Mom. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Doug's Patreon.
Oh yeah, do
please
that.
subscribe
And
to
then
the
and then
Patreon.
comment, and you might get on the podcast,
Maybe.
like me.
Oh, it was you. It was you. It's exposed. That's gonna do it for episode whatever this is of Vandals 23. Thank you. I don't freaking know. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.